India fearing dozens of people are dead after part of a Himalayan glacier collapsed. It has sent a torrent of water rushing down a river where a hydroelectric power station and several villages are positioned. Several communities have been put on high alert for flooding and people are being evacuated further downstream.
Hello, Kamal. So what we are hearing is that this glacial burst in the state of Uttarakhand's Chamoli district has triggered the avalanche and massive flooding along the Alaknanda and Dauliganga rivers. It's forced the emergency evacuation of thousands of people from surrounding areas, damaged homes and the nearby Rishiganga power plant. A local official has told Indian media that 100 to 150 people may have been killed in the flash flood.
Libya's rival military committees have been meeting in the city of Sirte for the last 3 days. The meetings, facilitated by the UN, have played a critical role in the success of this week's talks in Switzerland. A nationwide ceasefire was agreed last October in Geneva, which stipulated that all foreign fighters should leave the country within 3 months. But the fighters have failed to withdraw by the January 24th deadline. And the deal also called for the main roads between eastern and western Libya to reopen. A member of the Joint Military Committee says that will happen once they remove landmines from the area. The UN Security Council has requested the Secretary General to establish and deploy a team to Libya to monitor the ceasefire.
The United States confirmed on Friday that it plans to drop the Houthi movement's terrorist designation in response to Yemen's humanitarian crisis. The move reverses one of Trump administration's most criticized last-minute decisions. It also came a day after President Joe Biden declared a halt to U.S. support for the Saudi Arabia-led military campaign in Yemen, which is widely seen as a proxy conflict between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Houthi official Mohammed Ali al-Houthi told media on Saturday that the group had heard of the US administration's recent statements on Yemen, but had yet to see anything happen.
Fiery protests erupted at a lakeside resort in southern Chile over a street performer shot dead by a policeman there. Several public buildings were set ablaze in Pangipuli late Friday and continued smoldering into Saturday. Officials and local media reported that protesters burned barricades and threw rocks at a police station. Police in turn fired water cannon and used tear gas to disperse the demonstrators. The protests were sparked by the killing of a street juggler on Friday. Graphic video posted on social media shows police shooting at the performer before another round of gunfire brought him down. Officials said the officer involved is now in detention and added that the protests only slowed down the evidence-gathering process.
Judges at the International Criminal Court found it had jurisdiction over war crimes committed in Palestinian territories on Friday. The decision paves the way for possible criminal investigations. It was quickly criticised by Israel, which is not a member of the court, and welcomed by the Palestinian Authority. It comes just over a year after ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda said she found that, quote, war crimes have been or are being committed in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip, naming both the Israeli Defense Forces and armed Palestinian groups such as Hamas as possible perpetrators. She said then that she saw no reason not to open an investigation, but first asked judges to rule on whether the situation fell under the court's jurisdiction.
Clashes between the opposition and security forces right next to the presidential palace. It's become a regular occurrence on the streets of Port-au-Prince. Protesters continue to demand President Jovenel Moise steps down. Earlier this week, transport unions and other workers went on a two-day strike denouncing institutional violence and an alarming rise in kidnappings. Human rights groups say at least 1,000 people were kidnapped in 2020. Haiti's opposition says it's time for Moise to go. They say his mandate ends this Sunday. But Moise disagrees. He says his 5-year term began when he was sworn in 2017, and that he still has 1 year in power.
With night closing in, a desperate race to rescue the 4 survivors. 8 people had been skiing in the backcountry slopes near Salt Lake City when it's believed the 2 groups triggered an avalanche.
4 of those skiers were able to dig their way out, and we are currently in the process of rescuing them. The other 4 also have been located, and the unfortunate circumstances here is all 4 of the remaining are deceased.
Rescue teams dropped in as a flyover was conducted to work out if it was safe to retrieve the 4 remaining bodies. The victims all aged between 23 to 38 years old. Earlier, the Utah Avalanche Center had issued a high danger warning, alerting skiers to the presence of large natural avalanches overnight and dangerous avalanche conditions. There have been a string of deaths over winter, with the latest horrific accident bringing the death toll to 9 across 3 US states.
Mobile testing for areas in England with new cases of the South African coronavirus variant is being expanded. At the beginning of the week, surge testing began, which included door-to-door visits after cases were not connected to foreign travel. Today, testing began in parts of Worcestershire, Bristol and South Gloucestershire after a small number of cases were discovered there. Well, our health correspondent, Catherine, is here with us now, and there are new developments on this tonight. Catherine.
Yes, the FT is reporting some early data that the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine doesn't appear to be protecting against mild to moderate symptoms caused by the South African variant. Now, it comes just a day after the pharmaceutical company said that the vaccine is effective at protecting against the UK variant. There are some caveats, though. This is preliminary findings from a small study of about 2,000 people in South Africa, and it's not been peer-reviewed.
President Xi Jinping has visited an Air Force unit responsible for innovations on a special aircraft for key missions. The president inspected the work processes and execution of the aircraft's communication systems. Xi said harnessing information has become key to winning modern wars. He said it's necessary to accelerate development of advanced equipment, strengthen the training of professionals, and step up combat effectiveness. During the tour, he also stressed the importance of epidemic prevention and control. Xi also extended Chinese New Year greetings to active and reserve members of the People's Liberation Army, the police forces, and civilian personnel serving in the military.